see where Twitch is at. Let things warm up for a second. A little small talk. I moved my microphone to the left-hand side. Hopefully that keeps the sound down from the fan. Instead of a fan going to cool.
Wow, that's good. I like it.
Oh, that's so much better.
Oh, this is awesome. Like, seriously.
Very smooth and very tasty.
I feel like I have to try all of them now.
It tastes very refreshing.
Powerful.
Love that. I could drink it all day.
Delish.
I can drink this.
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Yet. Because I am loading up.
Delish.
I can drink this.
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Light it yet. Because I am the next loading up.
Delish.
I can drink this.
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
It's going to be the template yet. Designed because I am the next loading up.
Delish.
I can drink this.
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy
It's going to be
lately?
the template yet. Designed because right down the next loading up.
Delish.
I can drink this.
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Define the skeleton rate algorithm. Deferring some
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Define the skeleton rate algorithm. Deferring some
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Define the skeleton rate algorithm. Duplicate effort. Deferring some
I could drink the whole thing.
Let me get some of that one. I already drank it all.
Can I keep it?
I recommend this to anybody.
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Have you tried 5 Hour Energy lately?
Define the skeleton rate algorithm. Duplicate effort. Deferring some mistakes. Man. Ah, goodness. Starting off with a chuckle. 5 Hour Energy. Am I a spokesman now for 5 Hour Energy? Ah. Dandy says, please. That was mental. This is Rob's. Yeah, it was. Oh my goodness. And I was just talking about learning to stream. All these little checkpoints. Things to remember. I might just unpin this so we never run into that problem again, right? Unpin tab, get rid of view. It hides. It hides off to the side. Okay, so what we're saying was just reading the template method and the design pattern. And this part, if a change common to both components becomes necessary, duplicate effort must be expended. If you're looking for a reason to use one over the other, as far as the strategy pattern or the template pattern, they're both very similar. It says for the strategy pattern, it says define a family of algorithms, encapsulate each one, and make them interchangeable, right? So there's a few semantic differences between the two, but the real issue is if you find you're implementing the strategy pattern and you're doing a lot of the same stuff in every strategy, you probably should be using the template pattern. And we see that with quite a few of the design patterns where they have just a small conceptual tweak that makes them either the right pattern or an anti-pattern. So, last week we did the interpreter pattern, and that allowed us to really clean some stuff up. We go back into our core, into our base actor. We had a bunch of stuff in here before that was just dealing with creating a message for an action to get back to the game. And we replaced all of that with these seemingly pretty easy calls, right? And then right before we left out, I'm sorry, and last week was the text resource pattern. So right before we left off, we replaced even this with just a very simple action result, fill result. And then we had the problem of, okay, so that's great. We've got this really simple call that replaces even this, makes even this look heavy. But we need a way to figure out the mapping between our text resources and the action that comes in. So right now, every action in the game is going to be a fight. Let's see if this guy works. So we're connected to our server. Server says we're connected. Our login is Gary. It says welcome back, Gary. So my text resources are working. You probably have some more bugs in there because we're changing things so rapidly. I can fight Carl, but if I heal Carl, I'm still getting the attack message, right? So that's no good. Let's go ahead and close that out. Because in this fill result, we've got no intelligence as to how to map up the action context coming in with the message we want to display. So that's where the template pattern is going to come in. Presumably because we've got, let's just go ahead and start things off with our abstraction, right? So with every design pattern, we start with an abstraction. In this case, they're calling it the framework class. I'm not really taking the time to explain things as deeply as I might have in the past because we've run through so many design patterns now that when I say that every design pattern starts off as an abstraction, that's just me saying the same thing over and over again. So, one of the things we discovered last week was we created a data project. And we put our text resources inside of that, inside of a domain called Localization. And we talked in the past about this structure of folders really just helps to keep your mental map. So I can just focus in instead. I'm talking about localization. Instead of common, I now want to create a template for localization. I'm going to go ahead and add a new class. And this is going to be my abstraction. And let's just call it game message. Public abstract class game message. And get rid of all this stuff for now. Just leave system. So, what does this guy do? So, this guy is going to define the algorithm and all the steps of the algorithm. And then for things that are different, it's going to ask a subclass to implement only the difference. So a lot of base behavior is going to remain inside of our abstract class. Whereas compared to the strategy pattern, where we go ahead and shuffle all or 90% of our behavior off to the subclass. In this case, we're just shuffling off 10%. Alright, so if we come down, they give like a worker example. I really enjoy this website so far. I think it's great. Sorry for the fast scrolling. Cool. Alright, so all we really need to do is to say we're returning back a string because it's a game message, and we want our main method to be public string. I'll just say get resource. I think that's pretty good. And then whenever we get a resource, we're going to be taking in, so let's go back over to our action result. This is where we're going to be calling it from. So we have an action context available to us, and we have an amount available to us. So let's go ahead and take in both those things. Because we've already decided that's what's required to create a message. So we proved this out. So we can confidently say, if I have this, I've got everything I need. And then I want to decide what my algorithm's actually going to do. So let's also pass in the action result that we're going to be working against. Does that work? Now let's hold off on that. All we really want to do is return these messages. So I'm just gonna do string, and I'm gonna say resource key. I'm just thinking my way through it. So we've got the action context, I've got the amount, and I've got the resource key, so I can look it up. Then now I should have absolutely everything I need. So I'm hesitant to go type crazy with this. What you really want to do is you want to be like, well, what's the type of message I'm looking for? Is it a room message? Is it a target message? Is it a player message? And then I could create my concrete classes based off of that. But I'm not sure that really saves me anything. I'm just talking out loud. Just chatting out loud. So when it's a room message, I'm passing in the name, the target name, and the amount. If it's a player message, I'm only passing in the target name and the amount. Okay. This is going to be a pretty simple algorithm, I think, but it should demonstrate how we're going to have a good platform for making it more complex in the future. Let's just put a placeholder there for right now. Let's come over here. Let's just see how it looks. Okay. I'm just going to add a few more classes here. I'll call that player message. Public class player message. And here comes our algorithm, the first part. I want to say just one step, right? Keeping it as simple as possible. Public abstract string format message. And then I'm going to pass in everything that I have available to me. And then I will do a format message, action context, amount, and resource key. Okay. It's about as simple as we're going to get. And still satisfy the template pattern. So, what makes this really nice, actually, is we can do all of our future processing here. That's going to be important. It's a bit of pre-optimization, but let's go over to our data and our text resource repository. So, we're dealing with this structure where we've got a the subject, the target, and the amount. But we don't always have that. And so we want to be able to create specialized parsers for the different types of messages. while at the same time giving us the flexibility inside of our algorithm to do whatever checks we need to, or whatever kind of helper methods might be required, right? So as a great example, if action context dot, let's say player is equal to null, return, and then whatever, right? So it's a pretty simple example, but we don't want to have to put this line in every single one of our templates. And so we're going to have more and more of these where we're checking different constraints and making sure that we're doing our due diligence before we call the subclass. So then when we're inside of the player message, we are free so this is a game message. I'm going to go ahead and implement the missing members. So I've got format message. So now that I'm here, I know that this template is only concerned with things that line up with this guy. And they are pretty uniform. You do something for some amount. And I can rely on that, right? Because I know that whatever I'm getting pushed in is going to conform to this pattern, which is, I think conceptually and contextually, that really jives with the idea of a template. Alright, let's get rid of that. Again, keeping it super simple. Now, the other problem is, how do we get access to all of these things? These things being the resource names. I passed in the resource key, but now that we've gotten this far and we know it's a player message, right? So I know this part, I know this part. All I really care about is this part. Fight. Which we already have access to as a game action. Let's go ahead and pull that back out and see how far we get. Let's do this. Public abstract text resource names resource key. Oops. We'll call it parse resource key. And we'll do this. We'll pass in the action context. And I think I've earned a chat break. Yes, yes, yes. The audio was hilarious. Micklax says hello. Hello, Micklax. Krill J says hello. Am I pronouncing that correctly? I hope so. And then, was Krill J already in here? Maybe I missed that. Okay, and then the Refik PL says, "Can I see some example of this app?" You can. Let's do just a little more work. Let's go ahead and just flesh this out a bit, and then I'll go ahead and run the game and see where we're at. Alright, so now we have two things, right? So we bring in the action context and the amount, and we've got now two things we want to pass off to our template. And firstly, I want to say var resource or text resource name is equal to parse resource key action context. And then now I'm free, sorry for the back and forth, to say, once I do this first step of the algorithm, I should have the name. So then I want to pass that name into my second. Oops. Sorry. Wrong spot. There we go. Got a little glassy eye there for a second. I'll import that guy. Somebody stop me from going too fast. Alright, so now our algorithm is 2 lines, and both of those are being deferred to the template. So you can see some of the similarities of the strategy pattern and really a lot of patterns, but also the little semantic differences. So now I'm putting the onus, right, the responsibility of these 2 steps on the template. And then I can say var, say trn is equal to something. I don't know what that is right now, but somehow I've got to figure out how to get from action context to one of these messages. But that'd be wrong. It's going to be done as it is. Cool. All right. So this is my abstraction. This is the abstract class for my template pattern. And then from here, I can prove out the algorithm without having to write any code. I can just say, what is the algorithm supposed to do? I can see it, I can flesh it out, and then when I'm ready, I can go actually implement it into these concrete classes. So what are some of my options for parsing the resource key? Some options might be to do a lambda, which I can return data.domain.localization.repository. And I can do a lot of what I was doing in the base actor call. Sorry, which is just this. Yeah, not quite that. Hold your horses. Get resources. Where x text resource dot name to string equals, and I can pass it something, right? Because in C# or in .NET, when I toString on an enum, I'm just going to get the name. And then I can say var resource as string, resource key as string, is equal to string.format. It's going to have 3 parts. It's going to be, well, we know the first part, right? Let's go back over to our repository. We know the first part inside of our player template is always going to be player. So we actually have just the 2 parts, not 3. And then I know that in my action context, in my game request, I've got my game action toString. So now I just need to know whether it's going to be, oh no, and we also know the second part, don't we? We know everything's going to conform to this game action player message. What are we missing? Yep. Cool. So that's really all I need. So this is going to allow my player message template to really specialize itself and solve a problem without having to do a bunch of nested if statements, without having to do a nasty switch statement. I can keep it all right here. And then equals rank culture in my case. This is going to weird. I'm going to do a first. Oh. I'm sorry, hang on, let me catch up on chat. Please explain the x equals greater than sign. Sure. Hang on. So, this is a little comment here. If I do foo.where x and then that guy, this is going to be a projection. Right? And so I'm saying x is going to be the iterated object. So in this case, this might be a better example just to uncomment this. So I'm saying iterate through this entire collection, project x onto the object being iterated, and then let me perform some comparison. So I actually don't need, having a kind of a brain fart today. I'm actually made this a little more difficult than it actually needs to be. I don't actually need this. This solves my problem. Just this. I don't even need all that craziness. And in a second, we'll break this back down and make sure We know what's going on. So right now I don't even need this. I think this solves our problem in one step. And that one step is, I'm inside the player message. I always know it's a player. I can figure out what my key is. And then I can say, hey, inside of the resources, give me the first element you find where the text resource name toString is equals to the resource key I just generated, and ignore the culture and the case. And that's the reason why I didn't do the double equals. I didn't do the double equals because I want to throw in this string comparison as opposed to doing foo.toLower.trim is equal to bar.toLower, or whatever else I'd have to do to make sure they're equal. And that was a great tip from Smudge from weeks back. So I think this solves our problem. I really do. Let's get rid of that. Let's re-simplify our algorithm down to just our one thing. Could it be that simple? I guess I'm going to be doing some Control-Zing here in the very near future as we wing our way through this. Man, did we really implement the template pattern with like 3 lines of code for our needs? It is possible. Okay, so let's go back to the thing we're trying to replace and make sure we covered all our bases. So instead of action result, we've also got this culture bit here, because we want to make sure that it's en.us. So we're not quite bulletproof. We have a bug here. If we went with what we just designed, because we've given no way to figure out the culture. If we end up having multiple cultures, that could be an issue. Forgive me, I'm going to ignore it for right now. Let's take a look. So, the only other thing that we want to do is create a room one. We'll do a target as well. Add new item. Target message. Public class target message, and then inherits from game message. Boom. Boom, boom. I can really just copy all of this out. We're doing what we just said we shouldn't do, aren't we? We're doing some duplicate code stuff. So, it's another one of those patterns where it's like, man, this is like a really simple pattern, and the devil's in the details, though. Like some of the ones we did before, where it was like, here's a command pattern, and it's like a lot of code and a lot of classes, but at the end of the day, it's really easy to implement because you're just following the recipe. But these smaller ones, where you're actually writing algorithms, it is, you're going to watch me bumble a little bit as I kind of think through it. Public class room message, game message. Okay. Oh. Mouse went a little funky. Okay, so let's ask ourselves the hard question. If the only thing that's changing between each three of these templates is going to be the room message, and this guy's the same throughout, then why am I copying it 3 times? Shouldn't I change... This is where I say, I knew I was going to get Control-Z a bunch of times. Don't I really just want this one? Isn't this what I want as the algorithm that I ship off to everything else? I think it is. I really do. I think this one's the one I want to go away. I think our algorithm is really just this. Let's try that. Let's go ahead and copy this guy into our player message. Oh, I want that to be a string, don't I? I think that's actually what I want. That's what I want it to look like. Super simple algorithm. And then this guy would go here. Mystical Puko, I think, just said with his luck he'd be at the end again. Nope, we've still got 20 minutes left. And I think it's super simple enough that you could probably just catch up here in a second. All you really missed was my bumbling. Okay, so this is the algorithm we want, I think. And then we're going to replace in our 3 concrete implementations, target message, oops, okay. Okay, and then room message. Alright, so we did the template pattern, and it's super simple right now. And the idea is that I defer the responsibility for certain steps of my algorithm to my subclasses. But the whole algorithm should, the algorithm itself should be contained within my abstraction, which is my game message. So we're back over here to our action result, where all we're trying to replace is this guy, right? Now, I'm not always a fan of introducing news into this method. I'm going to do it now because I think it's going to offer a little highlight of a point of refactoring, and at least being able to follow my own style guide. So var player message is equal to new, have that, localization dot template dot player message. And then I want to replace all of this with player message.getResource and pass in the action context and the amount. Right? So that's what I'm looking for. That clean little call right there. Player message, get resource, action context, and the amount. So, what am I not doing? Right? I'm returning the content here, but I'm not actually populating the resource. So, var format string is equal to and that. Just give you some comments. When I get this back, I'm going to get something like return the key. So it's going to be fight room message, for example. When I get this back, it's going to be return the format string, which is going to be something along the lines of 0 sends a room message. Right? So the next part of my algorithm is going to be to combine those two things together. And that's going to be another part that I'm going to pass off to. This has been a really disjointed cast. I'm usually not this scatterbrained, but it's all coming together. It's all coming together in the end. String format message action context and int amount. So int amount, and then also the string, the format string, I think that's it. Oh, my computer fan's going crazy back there. I wonder if me moving my mic over to this side had a positive impact. Okay. Just to clear up this, I'm going to say get the key. Or parse the key, get the format string, combine and return. Cool. So unless I change my mind again, this is our template pattern. I've got this algorithm. It might be a little under-optimized, but it's an algorithm. And then I've got my two operations that I'm going to defer to my template classes. So I come in here, implement missing numbers, and not that. Let me back up just a second. I want this. Let me just redo everything I just did. Okay. So now when I format the message, I just want to do a string, return string.format, the format string I get in, and then all my parameters. So what I'm saying here is that, I'll make this an XML comment. What I'm saying here is that the format message assumes that the format string is in a particular parameter order. I'm going to put that guy right there. Just going to say let's say it returns the appropriate formatted text resource. All right. Bumbling through the template pattern. But we got it. And now we can leave all that alone. And we can say, okay, come back over here, implement this. And I'm going to say return string.format format string. And what we're really trying to do is we're trying to create a grammar here so that anytime we've got a target message, it fits a certain format. Anytime we have a room message, it fits a certain syntax format that we can rely on. And then we delegate and defer the responsibility of that to our template pattern to satisfy. Let me catch up on chat. Mystical Puka says, at least I got the last 20 minutes. You did. And I think it's going to be a good last 20 minutes, or last 10 minutes now. Let me just return your high five. Boom. Alright, and then Groons, you're too smart for all of us. What are you doing here? I love you and I hate you. Alright, Groon says you could also just return the string format args as object arrays, or yield each item and use IEnumerable object into the formatting in the base class. That's actually an excellent point, Groons. Excellent. I gotta chew on that. Because since we're just winging this pattern, that might be a better way of going about it. I do like using the yield operator, because we just covered, with the help of Smudge last week, looking at the iterator pattern inside of a repository. So it's a concept we're familiar with, or at least I'm familiar with now. So, and the reason why I like Groon's suggestion is because we've got this problem of newing up things this deep in the game. It's not a huge problem, but if we ever want to get down to the path of like dependency injection, this is a weird thing to see here. And hopefully if we get to that point in our streams, we'll both become, like you and I, will become better acquainted as to why it's a weird thing to see here. But right, it just tweaks my red flag spidey sense, right? Because now I got to do var room message equals new localization.template.room message, var target message is equal to new localization.template.target message. It's not horrible, but it's just weird. Oops. I think I got my room and my targets backwards. I did. I really, really did. Alright, hang on. See where I said player message down here, but up there I did something different? Let's go ahead and do this. And then on the action result, I'm only passing in these two things, the target and the amount. Let me clean this stuff up. So get resource, action context, and the amount. And I still need to do the target. I left that out here for some reason. Let's go back over to our base actor. Oh yeah. So here I'm relying on a different method to populate my target message. So once we get there, we're probably going to have to do another little refactor. But we've got everything in the right places. Things are starting to get where they're supposed to go and clean things up. So until we get down to this ugliness, and then this ugliness, we can really start to see, like up here, things really cleaning out and being what they're supposed to be. Super clean, super lean, no string literals, just good patterns. And now we're trying to clean up all this stuff down here. But our new motto is be less wrong. Don't focus on being correct. Just focus on being less wrong. Grun says, are you actually ever going to use those messages in a polymorphic way, or will you always instantiate an explicit message and call get resource on it? Really hoping for polymorphic. I just haven't thought it out yet. We've accomplished what we want as far as the algorithm and the template pattern. Boop, 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 boop. But we might have to rely on getting back with Smudge and seeing how we want to do dependency injection. Because I know we had some good ideas on that, so I don't want to tackle it until we kind of chat about it. But this is a code smell. Right? Like it really just, it irks me. It irks me a lot. Code smell. Okay. But we've got our algorithms made, we've got our template pattern, and so the way this stream seems to keep spiraling forward is it's like whack-a-mole, right? We get rid of one problem with the design pattern, and then in doing so and refactoring out the old stuff, we find a new problem we need to solve with the design pattern. And so far it's worked pretty well. Let's build this guy and see if we have any errors. Seem to get hung up a little bit, so hopefully not. Whoa. Hold the phone. Oh, there we go. Ah, look at that. Alright, so for target message, go back over to our repository. Looks like we're following the always has to here. The player name and then the amount. I think we'll see that back inside the base actor. Yep, player name and amount. I can already see the first refactor point is going to be how to get rid of all this stuff. But, for the time being, we're just going to say action context, player, name, and the amount. Cool. Let's go ahead and build that. We're jumping around a lot, so it wouldn't surprise me there's a few other nasties. This is taking forever. I wonder if something's... Anyhow. Oh. Alright, it keeps getting caught up here. Alright. Something did not release properly. Let's go ahead and just jump in the file system. Alright, clean seems to have done its job. It's getting a copy error on build. Didn't have access. I have to stop and restart Visual Studio because it keeps getting hung up here. Doesn't seem to be able to clear out this folder. Use another process. Interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and save everything. Go ahead and close that out. Visual Studio is not infallible. Let's go ahead and open up our Task Manager. Nope, looks good. There we go. So whatever Visual Studio was hanging on to from that debug session was preventing a write access when I built. Alright, so we got 2 minutes left to go, and let's see if we fix the problem and we can devote tomorrow to just going in and really churning this pattern into what it's supposed to be, or is tomorrow going to be bug fixes? So I got a connection. Type in Gary. Welcome back, Gary. Looks good. Fight Carl. I fight Carl for 8 damage. So, in theory, that went all the way through to here. Went through our template pattern and got the message and formatted it properly. And I got the next message that says you heal Carl for 5 damage. So it's still coming through as being read. We don't like that, but we are getting different messages now. So our template pattern is working. I'm able to inspect Carl. I'm able to heal Carl. Inspect Carl. So it applied the 5 health to him properly. We've got a bit of a color issue because we want that to be blue. So probably a bug someplace else. What happens when we come back in here with our 1 minute left? We've made such good progress. After all the bumbling, we actually implemented the template pattern. So let's come back over into this guy and we'll... So now I've got... We haven't really tested all this multiplayer stuff, but it is fun to see. I'm Beth now. So over here I get Beth, welcome back Beth, and then I get Beth enters the game. Beth has 14 health and 20 stamina. Also here is Gary. I come back over here and I look around. It says Gary looks around, and then I see the new room with Beth in it. Beth can also fight Carl. So then I say, you attack Carl for 21 damage, and then Gary in the room gets Beth attack Carl for 21 damage. We cheer now? Do we high five? Because the template pattern is doing what it's supposed to do. Super fun. Alright, so fight Carl. let's do inspect on Carl. It's a little bug over here because I really wanted to see. I got a blank line, but I really wanted to see Beth looks at Carl. All right, so over here I've got 60 damage left on, or 60 health left on Carl. And fight Carl again. Fight Carl. 44. So our hive mind, our singleton, that pattern that we did a few weeks ago, is keeping track of all of our game objects using the flyweight pattern, and it's able to maintain two separate connections and allow us to play the game as multiplayers. So again, if you've been here since week 1, we've come a long way. So then fight Carl. Fight Carl. Inspect Carl. I'm going to let Gary do the death blow and see what happens. Okay. So we got a little bit of wonkiness in the render, right? Where some messages aren't going to both people. Like I get a blank line here, and then over here, Gary attacks Carl, and then Carl falls to the ground lifeless. So things are looking good, but we still got some wonky logic in some places. Okay. Let me just take one last minute to recap what we did, and then also address some of Grune's points. So, we've got these text resources, these messages that have very set formats. They're always going to be for the type, for the room or the target of the player, for that type of message, it's always going to conform to the same format. So, we don't want to litter our code with a bunch of conditional statements everywhere and duplicate logic in places. So we use the template design pattern to defer that responsibility for finding the resource, for formatting it to something other than the caller. So the caller can just say, hey template, give me the right string for this context. It's pretty good. The problem we introduced, however, was we're reliant on newing up our own localization templates. This is bad. This is bad because every time a request comes in, we're going to new up 3 new objects that we don't need to. They don't change. We need to put these someplace else. And I think this is going off Grune's point, where there's a place to put this to make it more polymorphic, to get us closer to dependency injection, and really keep these classes as clean as they should be. And how do we know that? We know that because the calling object, base actor, is inside of core. And if it's inside of core, it means that it knows about hive mind. And the hive mind is our singleton. It's our game master. So anything the hive mind calls, it should be injecting the dependencies into it. So the hive mind should be giving the methods everything they need. The methods shouldn't have to instantiate anything for themselves. That's the idea. And that's going to keep our hive mind in control. And it's going to make sure that our game is running as lean as possible and there aren't any unnecessary just performance hits or just noise in the channel. So, I'm going to go ahead and check this in. And then tomorrow, we're really going to deep dive and play the game. And we're going to make sure that our template pattern and the rendering of that template pattern are really acting as they should. And with a thought in mind that every time we see a place where we're using it, we're going to ask ourselves, how can we fix this new problem of the template requiring so much internal information? How can we give it that? How can we inject the dependency? So, commit, template pattern, Day1. Oh, hang on. Untracked files, no. All right. So now, we can come back over here to Mutzi. All right. It's Tyndall pattern. It's out there. You can download the code if you want to. You can play the game. You can fish around. If you're so inclined to hop on to GitHub, you can poke around on the issues, maybe submit one. Looking at you, Groons. Looking at you. All the ideas that come up during chat are great ideas, and they can really help direct the course of the game development. Again, in past weeks, got a lot out of interacting with Smudge, and that was great. So it's definitely, the whole idea behind this is to keep it like a group effort. So don't be shy. We will explore any and all ideas, starting with Groons tomorrow. Because yeah, we've got a lot to clean up. We're going to apply this template pattern here, here. All of this is going to go away. This is going to go away. We're probably going to cut like 40, 50 lines of code out of this class alone. And this is fragile, right? Having every time you want a text resource being responsible for all of this plumbing. So all that goes away, our code becomes hardened, and hopefully serves as a really good learning example. All right, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and start shutting down. I'm going to let the video catch up with chat, and then I'll be signing off for the night. All right, that's it, everybody, and I will see you again tomorrow night when we can really deep dive into this thing and just spend a good hour coding. All right.